गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्म संप्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शंकरौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम् सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थम् ईश्वरम्। हरि ओम। नामस्मरण। कृष्ण ज्योति श्री राम ज्योति कृष्ण ज्योति श्री राम ज्योति विष्णु ज्योति परंधाम ज्योति विष्णु ज्योति परंधाम ज्योति कृष्ण ज्योति श्री राम ज्योति विष्णु ज्योति परंधाम ज्योति आत्म ज्योति आनंद ज्योति आत्मज्योति आनंदज्योति अद्वय ज्योति अखंड ज्योति अद्वय ज्योति अखंड ज्योति ब्रह्म ज्योति ब्रह्मांड ज्योति ब्रह्म ज्योति ब्रह्मांड ज्योति विष्णु ज्योति परंधाम ज्योति कृष्ण ज्योति श्री राम ज्योति ब्रह्म ज्योति ब्रह्मांड ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति कैवल्य ज्योति ज्ञान ज्योति कैवल्य ज्योति स्वयं ज्योति स्वरूप ज्योति स्वयं ज्योति स्वरूप ज्योति चिन्मय ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति चिन्मय ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति कृष्ण ज्योति श्री राम ज्योति विष्णु ज्योति परंधाम ज्योति चिन्मय ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति चिन्मय ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति शिव शिव ज्योति हरि ओम। Brahman is the locus and as well as the content of avidya, that is identical with Maya. Avidya is Parameshwarashraya. It is dependent on Brahman. Avidya is something other than or opposite to the knowledge, and this power called avidya is related to pure consciousness. It is the indeterminable, insentient power connected with, related with Brahman. This information we did try to understand yesterday. How avidya veils the Brahman and makes it appear as the God, Ishvara, the individual soul, Jiva, and the world, Jagat. Today, we will try to go little more into ignorance. We will try to know more about the ignorance in a detailed manner. Subject-wise, it is little technical, but it is necessary. It helps us to understand certain other aspects more clearly, which we will be taking up, if possible, today, and then other aspects tomorrow and the day after. So in order to facilitate that type of more clear understanding, we will try today to go into little bit of technicalities of the avidya. Till now, most of us have heard about avidya, one type of avidya. Now what is this? You are going to introduce another type of avidya or what? Already this one is enough. And it is in order to make us more clear in our understanding, the great masters of Advaita Parampara have introduced these things so that we will understand things in our level, in our realm, more easily. How avidya is covering Brahman. If we say avidya covers Brahman, conceals Brahman, veils Brahman, we don't know Brahman as of now, and we don't know avidya also, and then it is covering Brahman. What we don't know is covering what we certainly don't know, and we are trying to know. Oh, that is a big difficulty. So the rishis and the great masters of Advaita Parampara thought they should relate this knowledge in the terms of what is known to us. If they place it in the realm of known and then explain, we will be in a better position to understand that. So that is their great effort, a compassionate effort. So we will take few points from those efforts, which are very, very nice. So it is said, avidya is one. Abba, thank you. But it has various aspects. So we will try to look into these few of these aspects. Avidya, which is present in Atman, meaning yesterday we have seen locus is Atman or Brahman, and content also is the same. In the Narada's example, when he approached Sanat Kumara, he said, I know only mantras, I don't know the self. So that means he knows that he doesn't know. So we saw that locus is Brahman there. Even in deep sleep, the reflecting medium for the appearance of jiva, that is mind and intellect, is merged into avidya. So jiva is not the locus there for the I don't know ignorance. It is Brahman only which is the locus there. So the substratum or locus is Brahman, we understood. And then Narada said, I want to know the knowledge. So because of ignorance, I want to know that. Because I don't know, now I want to know. So what is the content of ignorance? He is ignorant, but he wants to know. What is the content of ignorance? Brahman only. So this is very clear. So in that way, if we understand, so avidya, that is present in Atman. This way present. Again, don't get into the thinking that, oh, where is avidya present and all that. So this way it is present from the standpoint of the one who is looking at Brahman from ignorance. So we are trying to know about it. Brahman is not trying to know himself. So we are trying to know, we who are thinking that we are separate identity, we are trying to know. So from our standpoint, ignorance is present in Brahman. So avidya, which is present in Atman and which is annihilated by the intuitive knowledge of Atman. So the avidya that is present in the Atman, which is annihilated by the intuitive knowledge of the Atman, is known as Moola Vidya, meaning Moola Avidya. Primal ignorance, Moola Avidya. And the various aspects of avidya which are present in the consciousness delimited by the objects. Consciousness delimited by the objects, meaning everywhere there is consciousness. Just as yesterday we have seen, avidya superimposes itself and then superimposes all the objects on Brahman. That we have understood. So, all the objects that are there, see, Brahman is the transfigurative material cause. It does not undergo any change, but it is a substratum for the appearance of the universe. So what undergoes transformation is avidya or maya. That is why it is the transformative material cause. Parinam upadana karana. Brahman is vivarta upadana karana. Without undergoing any modification or any change, it allows these things to appear. It is the substratum for things to appear. For anything to appear, there needs to be a substratum. So that substratum is Brahman. So that means everything is superimposed upon consciousness. If everything is superimposed upon consciousness, everything has consciousness as its support. So for everything to remain what it is, as it is, consciousness is a must. All the objects that are there in the universe are dependent upon the consciousness. So when we look at the flower, even in this flower, there is consciousness because this is a superimposition upon Brahman, upon consciousness. So here we can say this object is superimposed upon Brahman. In other words, a consciousness delimited by the object. That way we can try to understand. So the various aspects of avidya which are present in the consciousness delimited by the objects, which are removed by the knowledge of the true nature of these objects. It is present in the consciousness delimited by the object, which is removed by the knowledge of the true nature of the object. See, unless and until we get the knowledge of the object, true nature of the object, we don't know the object only. All the objects that we know, we have the knowledge of the object. Before that, we don't know about that object. Before that, we don't know about that object means we were ignorant about that object. At least that much we can accept. We were ignorant about the object. Whatever object we know now, we were ignorant about the object before we know about it. So that means ignorance was there. So that ignorance, where it was, that ignorance was there in the consciousness delimited by the object. So this flower is delimited in the consciousness. So consciousness delimited by the object. So whatever other aspects of avidya that are there in the consciousness delimited by the object get removed by the true knowledge of the nature of the object. So those ignorances that get removed by the true knowledge of the nature of the object are called as Tula Vidya. Tula Avidya, modal ignorance. So the main avidya, which is removed by the real knowledge of Brahman, the intuitive knowledge of Brahman, when we go into Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, in that continuous contemplation, meditation upon the Brahman, upon the true nature of Jiva as Brahman, then when that intuitive knowledge arises, then we know Brahman, because that which gets removed there is called as Moola Avidya, primal ignorance. And in these objects, that which gets removed is called as Tula Avidya, modal ignorance. Although avidya does not possess real parts, there are no real parts, yet being indeterminable in its very nature, It possesses innumerable number of indeterminable parts. It possesses innumerable number of indeterminable parts. And it is one indeterminable part of avidya alone gets removed by saving knowledge. Meaning the jiva has attained knowledge of Brahman. So, this one indeterminable part, in this one indeterminable part, the ignorance gets removed. One indeterminable part of avidya. Suppose one person realizes Brahman, only that person's ignorance is removed. Not everybody's ignorance is not removed. Is it not? Everybody else's ignorance remains the same. Whatever that person who has realized might say, but other people still hold on to that only, so it remains the same. So if one jiva has attained, in that one indeterminable part, the ignorance is removed. But avidya persists through all other parts, in all other adjuncts, in all other minds, in all other intellects, in all other upadhis, in all other limiting adjuncts, this avidya persists, holding all other minds in bondage. So all other upadhis, they are still in bondage. They are conditioned by all that, various other things. So moola avidya, primal ignorance; tula avidya, modal ignorance. Now, the modal ignorance, it conceals the consciousness conditioned by the objects. And this modal ignorance, now for example, I have shown flower so you know what is there in my hand. Otherwise you would not know. So for the time being, you don't know. You think you don't know. What is there? Anyway, if we think about so many things that we don't know. So, you do not know. So now what is happening? The ignorance is covering the object. What object also you don't know, but ignorance is covering. Because I have shown you the flower, now you know that ignorance is covering the flower. And this ignorance that is covering the flower is called as modal ignorance. And then it is unmanifest to us. As of now, it is unmanifest. In this moment, it is unmanifest to us. So how will it become manifest to us? When we gain the knowledge. When we gain the knowledge, it becomes manifest to us. So when we gain the knowledge, the modal ignorance that is covering this object gets removed. When the modal ignorance, when it is covering the object, gets removed, how I gain the true knowledge of the true nature of the object. Oh, what is it? It is rose flower. Which color? White color. Oh, this type of petals are there. Oh. And then I try to gain the knowledge. So the modal ignorance which is there, the modal ignorance, the tula avidya gets removed. Then only I say, this is manifest to me. I can see this. It is manifest to me. I can experience this. So when can I experience this? When I don't know, can I experience that? I have to gain the real knowledge of the object to experience it. Then only I can say it exists, it manifests. Otherwise, I don't know whether it exists or not. What do I know? That is how now, as of now, our understanding about Brahman is, we don't know whether it is there or not. Oh, these people are telling, so suppose if it is there and if it is noticing all of our actions and all, so better give benefit of doubt to it. So, we don't know about that. Similarly, we do not know about so many things in this world. So, our great masters have said, in a simple format, just as this is covered by modal ignorance, only because of the true nature of that particular object, this ignorance is removed, then only it is manifest to you. But in the beginning, what you have to do? You have to gain the knowledge of the object. First of all, somebody says, there is a nice flower. Where? That is called as rose flower. Oh, beautiful pattern, lovely design, and very good fragrance. Oh, so many colors. And then they go on telling about. Then we feel like saying, oh, if it is so nice, let me see. The moment you see, your face also appears like a flower. There will be joy that will be flowering in you. When you take its fragrance, but don't touch it. If you go near it, thorns are there. So just go only to the flower. Don't go close your eyes and try to grab it. Thorns might prick you. So only touch the flower. It's very soft petal. But the thorn, it is very harsh, pricking. All this they have said. We don't know what it is. So I got impressed. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Then they told the address where it is available, how we have to send. Then we went there. Then we tried to keep that in our mind, and then all the points what they told kept it in our mind, and then we go to that flower market. There are so many flowers. But we have to go on looking out according to this, where. Then we get that knowledge of the flower. So then we know, we see it. It is manifest. That is how we gain the experience of this flower. Now we have the knowledge of this flower. Experiential knowledge is the now empirical knowledge. Knowledge that is born out of experience is there now. That is what happens in transactional world for us. We gain experiences. Oh, experience. I have the experience of this object. I have this now. Same way, the rishis said, the Advaitic master said, we are giving you information about Brahman. Right now, ignorance is covering. But if you proceed, as you have trusted here, if you have the trust there and then proceed, we assure you, you will experience that also. Meaning, that is the penultimate state where experiencer also drops away and then you remain as that finally. But because that is the penultimate state, so we can tell that you can experience it. So that we can understand in the terms of experience. Later on, the experiencer also is not there. That is a different issue. So, it is said, various Advaitic masters like Chitsukha, Vimuktatman, Prakashatman, all these are great Advaitic masters in the tradition after Adi Shankaracharya. And we also take the help of certain other things from Vidyaranya Swami, Sureshwara, Padmapadacharya, and all great masters. So, few points they have presented. So, in essence, we will try to take few of them. They said there are many modal ignorance in the consciousness conditioned by each and every object. Whatever object it is, many modal ignorances. Already we had one. Then you said various aspects. Then it is modal ignorance. Now many modal ignorances. Now it is more confusing. But it will be more revealing if we accept it in the beginning. So the number of modal ignorances present in the consciousness conditioned by each and every object corresponds to number of cognitions that the object may have, or the number of cognitions of the object one may have. So if I have one cognition and many cognitions, so how many number of ignorances are present in this one object depends on the number of cognitions one may have about the object. Now, again, in front of you only. Now we don't know. Then we get the knowledge of the object. We know that the modal ignorance is removed. And there is cognition of this flower. I am aware of this flower. I am knowing this flower. So, the ignorance is not covering it. The moment I look here at other direction, in the other direction, and try to know something else, the modal ignorance has covered it. Right? You agree to that? Now I don't know about it. Again it has covered it. So, there are many modal ignorances. Again when I look at it, when I try to know, when I cognize that object, again that ignorance is removed. So, suppose if I look there and then look here, again that ignorance is removed. I cognize this object. There is cognition of this object. Then again you look here, again ignorance is covered. That means what? There are so many ignorances that are there, modal ignorances that are there present in the consciousness conditioned by the object. And the number of ignorances that are present there corresponds to number of cognitions one may have about the object. Cognition 1, again ignorance covered. 2, again third, ignorance covered. Is it not? That is how it happens in our life. At one point of time, we have one cognition about one object and we get that knowledge. We can't have cognition of all objects at one point of time. Can we have? And we cannot have the cognition of one object at all points of time, all periods of time. That also is not possible. Jiva's level of knowledge is this. Cannot have cognition of all objects at one point of time. Cannot have cognition of one object at all periods of time. Very clear. That is how the vritti functions. We will come to that later. That is how the vritti, pratikarma vyavastha, avastha of vritti. So, let us look into this once again. When there is knowledge of the object, one modal ignorance is removed, and that knowledge of the object, that cognition, subjugates all other modal ignorances that are present therein. Subjugates all other modal ignorances that are there. Any number, whatever it is, it subjugates. Because now I am knowing the nature of the object. I have the knowledge of the true nature of the object. So, that modal ignorance is removed. Whatever might be the number of modal ignorances that are present, Thula Avidyas, all of them are subjugated. This is very clearly said here. And this subjugation of other ignorances consists in counteracting the concealing powers of modal ignorances. It is counteracting. All other concealing powers are there, modal ignorances, they conceal the object again, but it is counteracting. And when one cognition arises, one modal ignorance is removed, all other ignorances are subjugated, but they are counteracting. How it is? See, when we take a medicine to remove the fever, so we take the medicine to remove the fever, and the medicine not only removes the fever, but also various other ailments that are there in the body. One medicine may act upon so many other things also, not only the fever, but so many other things. Pain also may get reduced, discomfort may get reduced, and that medicine is so powerful that some inconvenience in breathing also may get reduced, some other thing also may get reduced. So many other things also can be subjugated. That is an example. When we administer one medicine, so it may not only reduce the fever also, but so many other things also. Suppose there is a thunder, lightning that strikes somewhere. It not only strikes that one particular thing there, but also drives away all other people from there. Because that lightning, that thunder and that sound and then that lightning and that, and then everybody else will run away from there. It may strike one tree, but everybody else will run away from there. Like that. These two are traditional examples given by the masters. I just took only them so that we can be clear in that aspect. So, when one cognition has happened, I gain the knowledge of it. So, it not only removed the ignorance that is covering it, but also subjugated all other ignorances, counteracting concealing powers. Then when this cognition is removed, suppose now I become aware of something else, then immediately one of these counteracting concealing powers, it will cover. So I don't know now. Afterwards I do not know. I am not aware of it. I am not cognizing that object. Again the ignorance has covered it. So this is how the modal ignorances are there concealing the objects. This is very important point as far as this is concerned. And this knowledge of this happening here helps us to know more deeply about the ignorance that is covering Atman or Brahman. Then the Jiva. We have already seen various things that are connected with the Jiva, the Brahman reflected, in the avidya and its product, of which mind is the predominant factor, that is jiva. This jiva depends upon physical body and sense organs and the mind in order to gain the knowledge. Physical body, jiva, as far as jiva is concerned, physical body, sense organs and the mind. Then he tries to understand. But of course there will be misunderstandings at many times. One case came up before a magistrate in a court. So one man applied for divorce from his wife. So the case came up and it went on and on and on and on and on. Then afterwards the magistrate, the judge, is giving his judgment. He said, now, for the maintenance of the wife, after divorce, for the maintenance of the wife, I allot $10,000 per month. The judge said, $10,000 per month. Then this man, husband, said, thank you, my dear judge. I was worried how to maintain her. You are allotting $10,000. So kind of you. Please send it regularly. When the judge said he is allotting and sanctioning, passing a judgment that $10,000 be paid to her, that doesn't mean he is going to pay. The husband who is seeking separation, divorce, has to pay as a maintenance. But this man doesn't know. He acted, oh, thank you, you pay now. If that is the case, the judge will not sit there. Suppose he sanctions now money, okay. Thereafterwards he passes judgment of something else, imprisonment, and he should go and sit or what. So, this is ignorance in this mind. In spite of mind and sense organs, but still he has not understood properly. Sometimes there's another magistrate where the case came up and then the wife and husband both were arguing against each other. The magistrate observed the wife also and then told to her husband, why are you seeking divorce? She is beautiful, she is well-mannered, she is good-looking, she is well-proportioned, she is well-behaved. So, why are you seeking divorce? Then he said, my shoes are made up of costliest leather, very good-looking, very beautiful, very lovely shape, but I only know that it pinches. How do you know from outside where it pinches, how it pinches? I wear it, then only I know inside it pinches. Nobody can say what is happening outside. Outside so beautiful, everybody will appreciate, everybody will praise, applaud. Oh, inside it is pinching. I can't make a step. And then if I go on wearing that shoe, then it will become a big wound also. I cannot wear shoe anymore after that for a long time. So I only know that it pinches. So, like that in our life, there are so many things. Externally, they look very beautiful. But internally, they are pinching. Only when we interact with them, we know how, where, how much, what is the intensity and all that. Pinch also has so many things in it. As a formal pinch, a normal pinch, a romantic pinch, a loving pinch, and then in a hurting pinch, jealousy pinch. All that, there are different things are there. So, only when we interact, we will come to know. So, coming back to our jiva. So, this jiva has the physical body, sense organs, and the mind. And through that, he gains the knowledge of the objects of the world. And in order to gain the knowledge of the objects of the world, it is actually the vritti, the mental mode, the way in which the mind exists in a particular manner, that is called as the mental mode, the vritti, that plays an important role. The jiva attains the knowledge of a particular object at a particular time. Of a particular object at a particular time. and not of that particular object at all times, and not of all objects at one particular time. This fixed order is known as Pratikarma Vyavastha. This is a fixed order. And this is due to the work of Vritti. Now, again recollecting the important point, reflected image of Brahman in avidya, associated with the mind in its gross, in its subtle, and in its latent forms is jiva. Now, this is another addition here. Associated with the mind. So, reflected image of Brahman in avidya, associated with the mind in its gross, in its subtle, and its latent forms is jiva. One of the famous masters, Madhusudana Saraswati, has given this beautiful definition. So, the gross form, the mind is in its gross form in waking state. So, the I is clear. I is clear. And in dream state, the dream I is there, so it is subtle form. In the deep sleep state, Brahman is associated with avidya, wherein mind is provisionally merged and remains in its latent form. Physical body and sense organs do not function in this state. So, but therein Brahman there is experienced as bliss. Unknowingly we experience that bliss. Only we understand that it is a bliss after waking up. While experiencing, we don't know. That is why ignorance is there inside the deep sleep state. In ignorance, we experience bliss. We don't know, but we experience bliss. But when we wake up, we understand that we had the bliss. So the mind is in its latent form. So in deep sleep, it is in its latent form. In dream, it is in its subtle form. In the waking world, it is in its gross form. So, reflected image of Brahman associated with avidya, reflected image of Brahman in avidya and its product only. The reflected image is there only, but it is associated with the mind in three different forms. That is called as jiva. Now coming back to the role of vritti. What is the role of vritti here? It consists in bringing about the manifestation of the identity between the jiva and the consciousness conditioned by the object, thus enabling the jiva to have the knowledge of the object. Now, again this point. How jiva has the knowledge of this object? When the vritti, the mental mode, brings about the identity of the jiva, very clearly identity of the jiva with the object, with the consciousness conditioned by the object. Both identity is facilitated by the vritti. Then the jiva gains the knowledge. One father was looking at the progress report of the son regularly. Small boy, but regularly he was looking at it. Once in the progress report that was given in the school, marks were not so okay. So the son thought, how I should show it to my father and get the proof to the teacher that I have shown it to my father. Because they used to ask the signature of the parent. So he went to the father one day, keeping his progress report aside. He made the modal ignorance cover the progress report. And then he looked at the father and said, "Dad, there are some people who don't accept challenges." The dad said, "Now dad, here is a challenge for you. Do you know how to sign your name without seeing it?" Do you know how to sign your name on paper with closed eyes? Can you do that? People can't do it. Sometimes when people go for application of licenses and all other things, it is not pen and paper, but it is that electronic pen and then that electronic slate which is there. And then the sign, sometimes the signature doesn't appear there, but you have to sign. They will see in computer. You can't see. What is that? I am signing, but nothing I can see. So every time we are habituated to sign, and along with the signature, as it passes making the signature, we see that. So that we are used to that. And now we are making a sign and we can't see. We don't know what is correct or not. Suddenly there will be some doubt in the minds of few people. They don't make it, they can't make the signature at one attempt. Again they have to be told, again please try and please think that it is there, think that you are seeing it, think that it is happening there. But it is not happening, but it is happening there. So you think it is happening. So that also is Vedanta only there. It is not actually happening, but you have to think it is happening. And then it actually happens somewhere else. And then you get the card. On that card there will be your signature. You didn't see, but there afterwards you can see. While signing you didn't see, but afterwards you can see. So the son asked the father. The father, okay. And then son gave the pen, and then father closed the eyes and he signed. He placed the progress report. And then he took it away and said, make few more signatures, Dad. Let me see which is correct. Because afterwards father will ask, where is the signature? So he made him sign 2-3 more in a blank sheet of paper and then said, beautiful, Dad, very good, well done. He got his job done, keeping father in ignorance. And father also felt very happy that I can do the signature. What do you think? I think about you, great, Dad, you are great. In ignorance, that joy is there. But actually he doesn't know what he is missing there. But still he is very happy. That is how sometimes masters say we are happy in ignorance, thinking that we have done a great thing, but at the same time we are lost, we are at loss, we are missing something, we don't know that. We think that we are doing great thing, but still we don't know. What can we do? There was one disciple in an ashram. He went and joined that ashram and he wanted to attain some advanced levels in evolution. He told that guru, requested that guru to take him into that ashram. But the guru said, no, it is not that everybody can come, it's very strict. No, I will join, it doesn't matter, whatever strict is. Then the guru said, you have to remain in silence all the while. You cannot say anything. Only on one day where we all celebrate a function, a congregation will be there, that day you can say something. And if the guru wants to respond, he will respond. That is all. That is how the condition here is. I said, what is there? And that, whatever discipline is given, you have to focus your mind on that discipline. That is the most important thing. Always contemplate upon whatever is told to you. He said, okay. And 1 year he lived. And then he got a chance to say something. He can say 2 words. He can say or write and show. So, all the people were there, then he got his chance, then he got up and then said, bed hard. He was given a room and he was given a bed. For 1 whole year, he was suffering. That bed is hard. And he was asked to contemplate upon something, whereas he was contemplating upon the bed. The bed is hard, bed hard, bed hard. He wanted to tell, but he can't tell, no? For 1 year he has to wait. So 1 year waited to say bed hard. Then he wanted Guru to say something. The Guru said, you quit. 2 words only. You quit. Then he went and asked the manager, quit means quit the ashram or quit the place? Then he went on requesting, pleading. Then the manager said, okay, quit the place only, not the ashram, okay, go. So then he went. And 1 year again, some other disciplines were given. He went on doing that discipline. Next year again, he got the opportunity. He came. Then he was allowed to say something. He said, food cold. Whatever the food is given to him, regularly the food is cold, not warm, cold, food cold. Then he waited for the masters to say. Master said, get out. Only 2 words reply, get out. Then again he went to the manager, get out means get out of the ashram, please. Then he said, okay, get out of this place. Then again he did sadhana for 1 year. And again he was given an opportunity. Then he said, now he thought, saying one thing at one time, there is no use. So only one thing. He said, let me tell everything at once. Then he said, very bad. Very bad. He said, very bad means everything. No, there is no one thing there. Very bad. Then he waited for the Guru. Guru said, shut up. Then when he went to the manager, he said, now we can't keep you. Because now he did not say get out or you quit. He said, shut up. That's all. You are given one chance in a year. Now he has said, shut up means no chance. Year afterwards. So then he went to the master and then requested and all that pleaded. The master said, when I said, you quit, I said, you as the sufferer, that the bed is hard, quit. You are interpreting that, you are focusing on that, you are contemplating upon that, you are thinking that you are suffering, you are holding on to that thought and then you are becoming more sufferer. You quit, you as the sufferer quit, you as the observer take birth there, you as the observer, if you manifest there, you become the observer, then there is no question of suffering there. That is why I gave you this discipline, I purposely made the bed hard. So that where your mind is focused on the discipline or on the comforts. So the second thing is that get out. When food cold, I said get out means get this identification out. It is because of your identification with this. You are always seeing. And then finally I said shut up. When you said very bad, that means you are identifying with all the negative things. I said, shut up. Means don't say anything. Don't point at those things. If you point at those things, you will be suffering. If you make your mind pointed towards the discipline, you will be out of it. So, in the process, what we understand here is, he was in the ashram, but his mind was so much influenced by the ignorances which are there. Always the ignorance was covering him, not only the primal ignorance, but the modal ignorances also. So many ways they were overpowering his practical effort to do the sadhana and other things. So coming back to this, it is said here, the vritti is the most important thing which brings about the identity between the jiva and the object. There also in the example, the identity between the jiva and the object is brought about by the vritti. Then only he can get that knowledge. Whether it is bed hard, food cold, very bad, that object and the jiva. What brings the identity between both is the vritti. If that vritti is changed, then the knowledge will be different. Object remaining the same. We don't suffer because of that object. The identity. So what we have to do is, by changing this vritti, we break the identity between the jiva and the object. Once we break the identity between the jiva and the object, that experience is not there. We will get a different experience. We will change the object. Our vritti is directed towards another object. Or, now the another important thing is, instead of ending up at the form and name of the object, if we still penetrate deep into that, something else we discover. The vritti has the capacity to make us discover something else, not ending our pursuit of knowledge at the object. We can go much more deeper. Why we suffer? Because the great master said, please understand this, there is a thin layer of veil which is covering. See, the consciousness is conditioned by the object. We stop at the object and then we interpret that object as per our prior knowledge and as per the present situation, how it is appearing to us. Even now when you are trying to know about your experiences with the objects and knowledge with the objects, even now if you know what is exactly happening there, you will become peaceful and relaxed. You will really become very quiet and you will start experiencing something else which is different from what you are experiencing now. So that is the reason why this is given a lot of importance here. So now please understand, the object, here it is consciousness conditioned by the object. Meaning the object cannot stand by itself. It needs consciousness. Consciousness means Chaitanya. Okay? Chaitanya is consciousness. So this Chaitanya is necessary for this object to survive. It can't stand by itself. It is not independently existing. It is dependently existing. It needs the consciousness because the object is superimposed upon Chaitanya. It needs the Chaitanya to survive. Substratum is necessary. So here one important thing what we have to see is, it is designated here as Vishaya Chaitanya. The consciousness that is there which is supporting this is Vishaya Chaitanya. And the primal ignorance that is there, Mula Avidya, the derivative of Mula Avidya is Tula Avidya. This ignorance, which is called as Tula Avidya, is present in Vishaya Chaitanya. This is Vishaya Chaitanya, so present in Vishaya Chaitanya. Vishaya, object, Chaitanya, consciousness, the consciousness conditioned by the object. So this is Vishaya Chaitanya. Then, in the mind, because the mind is the medium through which we gain the knowledge, and mind also is the reflecting medium for the Brahman to appear in it, and then that is the Jiva. So, when we say mind is trying to know, I mean I identify with the mind, I try to know about the object. I am trying to know about the object. So mind cannot function by itself. Mind also is supported by the consciousness, which is called as knower there. So that is Pramatru Chaitanya. Who is knowing there? The Jiva, when we say the Jiva is trying to know. Who is the Jiva? Who is the reflection in the mind? Reflection of Brahman in the mind. So, one thing is very clear here. Brahman, when we call it as original Brahman, which is reflected in the mind, here is known as Pramatru Chaitanya, which is the knower. Then, the vritti, the thought through which, the mental mode through which this knowledge happens. Because when we see the object doesn't go into the head. What happens is, a form of this object, a thought form of this object is there. An image appears in the mind. We can say in two ways. One is when we look at it, an image appears in the mind, immediately it is reflected in the mind, and a thought about that image is formed in the mind. That is called as Rozakara Vritti. This is Rozakara Vritti. And another way we can little bit elaborate it so that we can understand more clearly. Gurudev used to say this once in a while. The mind goes out and meets the object and takes the shape of the object and comes back. And now what is there inside? It has taken the shape of the form of the color of the name of the object. So that is called as thought form of the object, vritti of the object, Rozakara Vritti. So whether we say it immediately appears inside or whether we say like Gurudev that goes and then brings it back and inside, both are same. This makes it more clear, going out to becoming it and coming back and all that. Easy to understand. So now there is Rozakara Vritti inside. because this is rose flower. Vishayakara vritti is there. Vritti is there. That vritti also cannot stand by itself, because that also needs Chaitanya, that also needs consciousness, because everything is consciousness. Avidya and also superimposed on consciousness. Products of avidya are superimposed on our consciousness. The contents of the products of avidya are also superimposed on consciousness. Avidya, contents, products of contents, objects, everything is superimposed upon consciousness only. So what is real? Consciousness or other things? Consciousness alone is real. So now there are three things now. To extend our confusion, there are three things now. So one is Vishaya Chaitanya, another one is Pramatru Chaitanya, the original Brahman who is reflected in the mind, who is the actual knower, Pramatru Chaitanya. And then this vritti, which is making this knowledge happen, is called as Pramana Chaitanya. That which is enlivening the vritti, that because of which the vritti also comes alive and then maintains itself and then maintains its function and continues to function, and it can work about because of the energy, because of the enlivening factor, that is because of the presence of consciousness, that is Pramana Chaitanya. So, the ignorance that is there in Vishaya Chaitanya is removed by the Pramana Chaitanya, by linking up, by bringing up the identity between Pramatra Chaitanya and Vishaya Chaitanya. So the knowledge happens to the jiva. If you set aside the Chaitanya away, so the thought links up or brings up the identity between the jiva and the object. So the jiva gains the knowledge of the object. This is very clear. So now we bring in all these Chaitanyas. Then, vritti inspired by the reflection of Brahman, Pramana Chaitanya, brings about the identity between Pramatra Chaitanya and Vishaya Chaitanya. Role of vritti consists in removing the modal ignorance present in Vishaya Chaitanya and thereby bringing about the manifestation of identity between Vishaya Chaitanya and the Pramatra Chaitanya. Identity between both. Now, if we really go a little deeper into this, one thing we understand, that is, because this object cannot be independent of itself, the most important factor here is the consciousness. And when the identity between the knower, Pramatru Chaitanya, and this is brought about, for the knower, this is immediate, right? For the knower, because in the mind the vritti takes the shape of it and brings them both together. The vritti, the thought links the knower and the object because it has taken the shape of the object. For the knower, this object is immediate now. Meaning, the consciousness which is there present in the object is immediate. It is there, immediate. And the vritti also, inside the vritti also, there is consciousness which is there. And inside the knower there is consciousness. But actually, if we look into it, every knowledge that happens to the jiva is happening because of consciousness supporting the object and present along with the object there. Because the gross object is not there, only the thought of the object has come inside. And then that thought also is supported by the consciousness. And then to whom this knowledge is happening, that also is supported by the consciousness. So if we see in this world, when people ask, where is the grace of God? Every single piece of information we know in that small action or activity called as learning, there is only the grace of consciousness. There is only consciousness which is supporting the object also, which is enlivening the thought also, which is making the knower know also, which is bringing about the identity between both also. It is only the consciousness. Now, here it is said, once you remove this flower, and now you have Brahman as the object. Forget about now you want to know Brahman, no? All of us want to know Brahman. Now leave the flower. Okay, why? Okay. See, now, Brahman as the object. Because when we go into Upanishads, when we go into satsang, when we go into so many things, what is the object of our knowledge now? Brahman. Brahman is the object of knowledge. So, what supports that object of knowledge there? Brahman. Right? Brahman is the object of knowledge, and what is supporting is Brahman. Now, the vritti which goes there and then takes the shape of what? Brahmakara vritti, no? Earlier it was Vishayakara vritti. Now it is what vritti? Brahmakara vritti. If you think of Shiva, Shivakara vritti. If you think of Rama, Ramakara vritti. If you think of Vishnu, Vishnu Akara vritti. If you think of your beloved, beloved Akara vritti. If you think of your enemy, enemy Akara vritti. If you think of your happiness, happiness Akara vritti. Sadness, sadness Akara vritti. And experience is what? Sadness. Whatever is the shape of the vritti, that is the experience. Normally in our day-to-day world, whatever is the object, the vritti goes, takes the shape, comes inside, we get the knowledge, we get the experience. Is it not? This is the normal procedure. Even then, consciousness alone gives us this experience. But here what the masters say, now please understand, how knowledge about Brahman happens, that is the thing. How Upanishads can give the knowledge of Brahman? How this can happen? That's a big doubt. My mind, I know how polluted it is and all that, how I can know about Brahman? No, simple. The object of knowledge here is flower, then there is Brahman. Object of knowledge is Brahman. So, that thought which, now, because the object and consciousness were immediate, the object is no more, the consciousness is there inside the mind, the object is not there, the consciousness is there, representing this object actually. The thought has taken the shape. So, now the thought which goes to the Upanishad and takes the shape of Brahman and comes inside. What is that? Brahmakara vritti. And then the one who is trying to know. Who is the essence there? Who is the main substratum there? Brahman only. So, that Brahman has Brahman as its object and has the mental mode as its. So, the mental mode also is supported by, mental mode is what? Brahman only, Brahmakara. Object is Brahman only. And then who is trying to know is Brahman only. That is why immediate it is inside. So then what happens? Once we go on contemplating upon it, then that ignorance that is there, that gets removed. So Brahmakara vritti has Brahman, which is the most immediate as its content, and Brahman reflected in it is known as knowledge of Brahman. So then, and it is immediate, this is the direct way of knowing. So when we look at it in another manner, let us see one thing, that is, somebody has mistaken something for something. That is possible. Somebody mistaking something for something is possible. For example, somebody mistook the man for the post. Mistook the man for the post. There was a man standing there at a distance. Light was unclear, and then there was a little darkness was there, and very little light was there. So he mistook man for the post. Whether you call it an electric post or a telephone post, whatever post it is, post. Mistook the man for the post. So that means he is ignorant about man. He thinks it is the post. He thinks the man as post. So he is ignorant about the man. Now how to bring knowledge to him? Somebody who knows that it is a man comes and then makes a statement. What statement? He has to proceed from what he thinks as known to what he has to know. So he says, this post is man. Okay? This post is man. Clear? It's a beautiful statement. This post is man. He will laugh at it in the beginning. Post, and you are saying this post is man. You are in ignorance, he will tell. Definitely, because from his standpoint, that is post. But whereas the one who was coming from that side, who saw the man, because he was on the other side, he saw the man, he knows that is not a post, he comes and says, this post is man. This man thinks you are in ignorance. And that man can't say you are in ignorance, because will he believe now? He will not believe. So, only way he has to gain the knowledge is, he has to trust that statement. This post is man, this post is man, this post is man, this post is man. Thou art that, thou art that. I am Brahman, I am Brahman. Right? So, when he goes on keeping in his mind, this post is man, this post is man, what happens later on is, once he goes and sees that, this post gone. This post is gone. What remains there? Man. I am Brahman. I am gone. What remains there? Brahman. Thou art that. Thou art gone. What remains there? That. The object of knowledge is what? Thou art that, thou art that, thou art that, thou art that. Or individually, I am that, I am that. So when it is said, this post is man, this post gets sublated, man remains. So when he thought that man is a post, this post is man, this post gone, man remains. There are two ways of knowing it. Sureshwaracharya, Vidyaranya Swami, both of them say sublation is the way. This post sublated, thou art, I am sublated, Brahman remains. Padmapadacharya, and again in another Upanishad, Sureshwaracharya, both of them support the other view also, which said it is merger. Sublation means everybody will not accept. What is that? And sublation and not there. And so then they say, okay, then this post is merged into the man. Okay. So now where it gone? It became the man. It is merged into the man. So like that, when I am, in the question of I am is Brahman. So I am is not sublated, but I am is merged in Brahman. What is that I am here? When the conditioning is there, the space is there inside the pot, that pot space is saying I am Brahman. Finished. It knows that it is that only. I am not this, I am that. That way. But earlier opinion is, because of the condition, this I am exists. Because of the pot in the total space, because of the pot, this pot space exists. So when this says I am Brahman, the pot goes, pot space goes, space remains. That is one way, sublation. Both ways it is same. Suppose the pot is there, because of the conditioning of the pot space exists. So I am that space, I am that space, I am the total space. So the pot and space both go. Pot and pot space also goes. And what is the original space that remains? Because the pot space is only a referential point from conditioning. That is one way to attain the total space. Another way is the pot space is merged in the total space. There is satisfaction. Still some people think that I-ness should remain there. So that I am in Brahman, so I am merged in Brahman. That satisfaction is given. Okay, it is merged and become Purna. So some people like that way to become total, some people like this way, whatever it is. So that is where here it is said, even the simple knowledge that is there in the world is facilitated by consciousness. And when we get this Upanishad Vakya also as the vritti into the mind, there the object also is supported by Brahman, the thought also is supported by the Brahman, the knower also is there. Actually, that is the Brahman. So the Brahmic knowledge happens immediately because it is only Brahman there. Nothing else other than Brahman is there when Brahmakara vritti is taken inside. So it happens. Only thing is, the moment, Adi Shankaracharya says, the moment you take the Brahmakara vritti, our knowledge should happen. If it is not happening, the only thing is mind is impure. Because the mind where this jiva is getting reflected, that is impure. So what is to be done? Should I change this Vakya to another Vakya, and should I go to another tradition? Should I meet somebody? Adi Shankara said, no need. Same thing you repeat. That repetition, 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 repetition. It goes on clearing, cleansing, removing impurity, removing impurity, removing impurity. And then slowly it goes on cleaning everything. Like nowadays you go and then clean your ponds and all. You throw that some machine there, and then it goes on clearing the whole pond or your swimming pool or whatever it is there. So everything that only clears like that. You just keep that Brahmakara Vritti, it clears all the impurities. Then suddenly you will know it completely. So this knowledge will help us to know into actual Brahmakara Vritti, then Savikalpa Samadhi, then Nirvikalpa Samadhi, how it happens, how this knowledge happens there inside, how actually it helps. So all that is very important. So we took this, and we also take the help of one beautiful sloka of Adi Shankaracharya ji from Shivosmyaham. It is there actually in Brahma Jnanavali Mala, and most of us must have already heard this. Antarjyoti Bahirjyoti Pratyakjyoti Paratparaha Jyotirjyoti Swayam Jyoti Atma Jyoti Shivosmyaham Antarjyotir Bahirjyoti Pratyakjyoti Paratparaha Jyotirjyoti Swayam Jyoti Atma Jyoti Shivosmyaham Antarjyotir Bahirjyoti. Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Antarjyoti, I am the inner light. Inside, which is illumining everything, which is making us know, is the light. I am the inner light. Antarjyotir Bahirjyoti. Outside, every object is illumined by the consciousness, supported by the consciousness. Every object is there because of the consciousness. So, that consciousness is illumining every object outside. I am the inner light which illumines the Antakarana, the mind and intellect equipment. I am the light which illumines the very object outside. Pratyakjyoti Paratparaha. I am the innermost light. If you go deeper and deeper and deeper into me, the mind, the ego, the innermost behind all that, the innermost light, Pratyak, at the same time, the highest light, Pratyak, is I. I am that light. And Paratparaha, I am the Supreme Being. Jyotirjyoti Swayam Jyoti Jyotirjyoti, meaning I am the light that illumines all the other lights. Jyotirjyoti. The sun is there, the moon is there, the stars are there, the fire is there, what lightning is there, whatever might be the light that is there outside, all that lights. Jyotirjyoti Swayam Jyoti. I am the light that illumines all these lights. And Swayam Jyoti, I am the light which is self-luminous. Nothing illumines me. I don't need any other support. I don't depend upon any other light for my illumination. Swayam Jyotihi. And what is that? Atma Jyoti Shivosmyaham. I am that light of the Atman, and that is very auspicious light, and that is not different from the Shiva, the Supreme Brahman, which I see in the form of Shiva. So I am that auspicious light, I am that light of the Atman. Dyotata iti Jyotihi, Dyuta Deeptav, all that means that which shines. So actually, in everything, when we see the experience, the thought of happiness, that which makes it shine is this light. We see the thought of misery, that which makes it shine, and that which illumines, that is this light. Whatever might be the object because of which this vritti of happiness has come, that is the light which illumines that object. And whatever might be the object because of which this sadness has come, whether it is a person or a situation, that light which illumines that situation or the person is the same light. And that thought which is carrying this message into your mind is illumined by the same light. That inside the mind who is the functioning as the knower, that also is the light. That mind also is illumined by that inner light. It is the same light which is making all this tamasha going on. When we say Bhagavan is playing this game, we say, oh, he is playing. Now you see who is playing this game? In ourselves, what we claim as I am the body, I am the mind, I am the knower, my object, my experience, my knowledge, whatever we call as my object is illumined by the same light. Whatever we call as my thought, which is giving me the experience, illumined by the same light. Whatever we call as mind, I am the knower, that knowing thought is there, I am the knower, that also is the same, illumined by the same light. Is it not the same light making every selfish desires experience possible? Every vulgar thought experience possible? Every stupid thought also is known only because of the same light illumines everything. That light is never get tainted by these objects. The object cannot condition that light of consciousness. The thought cannot condition the light of consciousness. The mind cannot condition the light of consciousness. Same light of consciousness remains unconditioned, uninfluenced, untouched, unpolluted, unimprisoned, unsullied, unaffected. Then the masters say, if at the time of suffering or sadness, if you say, Antarjyotir Bahirjyotihi Pratyakjyotif Parat Paraha Jyotirjyotis Svayam Jyotihi Atma Jyotis Shivosmyaham. I am blaming a person who is responsible for my suffering. That person is the object of my knowledge of suffering. That object of knowledge, that object is illumined by Jyotir Jyotihi. All the lights are illumined by the same Bahir Jyotihi. That object is illumined by the same light. Even the very thought of misery cannot remain in my mind unless and until that light of consciousness illumines it. The same light. And then the mind also is illuminated by the same light. The rishis ask us, the masters ask us, instead of getting attached to the thought, why don't you focus your attention on the light that illumines the thought? Instead of focusing on the object, why don't you focus the attention on the light that illumines the object, which is very substratum of the object? Instead of focusing on the mind, why don't you focus on the light that illumines the mind? How far is the light from the object? How far is the light from the thought? How far is the light from the mind? It is immediate to the mind. It is immediate to the thought. It is immediate to the object. It is there where the object is. It is there where the thought is. It is there where the mind is. All that you need to see, all that we need to see is the light. If we take a decision, if we make a choice, when we trust this Shastra, when we trust this Guru Vachana, and we shift the attention, we shift the focus from the mind to the light, which is immediate, which the mind cannot survive without that light. Mind cannot function without that light. Mind cannot be a mind without that light. If we shift the attention from the thought, so many thoughts are there. He scolded me, he ditched me, she deceived me, and then they did this, and then the situation happened like that. I expected this, my disappointment, my frustration, my anger, my stress, my tension, my this, my that too. And all that, when I am identified with the thought, if we shift the focus by making a choice on to the light, without which the thought also cannot survive, the thought cannot sustain, the thought cannot be illumined, the thought cannot be there, experience is not possible. And then if you focus the attention on that which is behind the object, that is the light, the masters say, in a split second, your experiences changes from ignorance to knowledge, from suffering to joy, from misery to happiness, from disturbance to peace. That is what, when we clearly say, lead me from darkness to light, ignorance to knowledge, death to immortality. Who has to lead whom? With the grace and blessings of God, if we can understand this, it is only, if at all in our language we say it is next door, just there behind it. All that we need to do is make a choice, take a decision. That choice and decision is to be born out of our acquaintance with the scriptural knowledge. Then it is perfect. That is all. Next time when we are inconvenient, feeling the inconvenience, suffering, disturbance, frustration, simple thing, whether we should focus on light or thought. When we focus on thought, the light will become heat. Remember, frustration is heat, anger is heat, too much of attachment is heat. All the negativities, the energy inside is manifested as heat. Whether we want to waste that energy as heat or whether we want to store it and make it light, that is, the choice is ours. If we make it as light, that light beams out through the even physical structure also. We see in the great Mahatmas like Gurudev, you look at his eyes, there is so much of tejas inside. Why? That is light. His light alone is beaming through all his physical structure also. Every cell of his body is charged with that inner light, the pure light, the divine light. There is no matter element there. The most important thing in a Mahatma was realized is every cell is nothing but that light, full of that light. That is why Samadhi Sthal starts continuously emitting that light for hundreds and hundreds of years. Anybody goes there and then sits there in communion with that light, in silence with that light, in prayerful worship with that light, in devotion with that light, in meditation with that light, in relationship with that light, immediately gets that connection, and that power of that light, the tejas, gets infused into our system. Even our body, mind and intellect will absorb that lustre. That is what is the secret. So, we have to really focus upon the light whenever we get an opportunity. That is why we show all the lights. In the puja that is performed also, it starts with a light. Deepam Jyoti Param Brahma, Deepam Jyoti Janardana, Deepo Haratu Me Papam, Deepam Jyoti Namostute. See that? It is Parabrahma, it is Janardana. Parabrahma, that Deepa is Parabrahma, that Deepa is Janardana. Janardana also means the one who takes us beyond birth and death. So that is that light. And that light which removes all our papa, all our sins, all our ignorance, that is, to that light I salute. So when we start our puja also, we start with that light only. When in between also there is light, and then towards the end also there is light. That is to tell us, you are taking the world too seriously, take it light. Because everything is nothing but light. When you understand even scientifically that everything is nothing but that light, please understand one thing. If you take dirt from the trash can and then throw it at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second speed approximately, if you throw it at that speed, that dust and dirt also becomes light. It becomes light if you throw it at anything that is thrown at the speed of light, travels at the speed of light, becomes light. So that means who is taking it serious? We are taking it serious. We have to really make it light. So we have to focus upon that light, which is Swayam Jyoti, which doesn't need any other illumination. It is ever shining eternally inside. And that is our own true nature. It need not be borrowed from anywhere. We need not wait for gaining that for anybody's permission or for anyone's mercy, except God's grace. So, situations when they present themselves to us, instead of seeing an object only, instead of seeing a thought only, instead of seeing the mind only, let us see what is in the mind, what is behind the thought, what is behind the object. A step. So, happiness is a thought away, a step away. Whenever we complain to God, where is happiness? A step away. Instead of taking a step outward, you take a step inward. Instead of pointing the mind outward, you point it inward. A thought away. It is exactly a thought away. A thought away is peace. A thought away is happiness. A thought away is joy. A thought away is real knowledge. It's a thought away. That thought is the thought of Upanishads. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ओम शांति शांति शांतिः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम।